Good morning, boys and girls. Today I'm going to read you a story. The story is called The Story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf, drawings by Robert Lawson. Can you tell me what you noticed on the cover? What animal do we see? And what are these white things we see around him? Once upon a time in Spain. There was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. All right, so that animal on the front is a bull. His name is Ferdinand. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit just quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot under a pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in it in the shade all day and smell the flowers. So what did Ferdinand like to do? His friends liked to run around and butt heads, but what did he like to do? Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why don't you run and play with other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. "I like it better here, where I can sit just quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Right, well, this is Ferdinand as a kid, and this is him grown up. Do you think Ferdinand looks different? All of the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at a bullfight in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting and leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. Do you think that's what Ferdinand is going to do? Ferdinand knew that he wouldn't pick him, so he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on a nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Look at Ferdinand's face. How do you think that bee sting felt? If you were Ferdinand, how would you feel if you got stung by a bee? Wow, did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting and butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. Now, why do you think the men thought that he was so fierce? Does Ferdinand usually jump around and butt heads with other bulls? What does he like to do? So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First the balladors with the long sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadors, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Why do you think they wanted to make these bulls so mad? Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and the baladors were afraid of him, and the picadors were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. If you were Ferdinand, what would you do? But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the baladors were mad, and the picadors were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still, under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly, and he is very happy. The end. So, all right, boys and girls. So what this story is telling us is even though you look like something on the outside, it doesn't mean you have to be like that. So Ferdinand is a bull, and in Spain, their bulls fight. But Ferdinand wasn't that kind of bull. He liked to sit quietly and smell the flowers, and that was okay too. All right, boys and girls, make sure you have your listening ears on all day today. Have a great day. Miss you guys.